Yeah, I mean, I think this is where folks like Ayn Rand honestly find a like avenue for their personal philosophy. Because I mean, just like to take the Interstellar kind of spectrum again, everybody in some case is self-interested, right? It's like you only care about your family because they're your family, right?
Yeah.
And like everybody's spectrum of who they care about varies widely, and like there are the people who only care about themselves, like Matt Damon in Interstellar. What's his name? I don't know what his name is. Whatever.
I don't remember.
Okay, but there's Matt Damon's character who only cares about his survival. There are people like Matthew McConaughey, Cooper's character, who cares about him and his family.
His family.
That's like how as far as his thing reach.
Yeah.
And there's people like Professor Brand, who sacrifice everything for the greater humanity.
And you're saying Matthew McConaughey is in the second category because him going on that adventure was it was a self-interest because he wanted his own adventure. Him going on that adventure,
right? Was self-interested,
yes,
but like in the end, I think he came down for the people he loved.
Yes,
he came down on the side of like love is what connects us.
Yeah.
And like I care about the people I love.
Yeah.
And I think what's him and Amelia are like on the same page when it comes to that. And I think there's like the radical folks like, you know, the Matthew McConaughey or Matt Damon's character, who like really only cares about themselves. And I think people understand that, the self-interest of themselves.
But do you think he was originally like that, or do you think it transformed him, that experience? Because he was probably a fairly...
I think, honestly, when, I mean, they talk about, Amelia even says like he was the best of us. I think in the beginning he wanted to be this hero for everybody.
But was she talking about him or her lover?
No, she was talking about him. Dr. Mann, I think, actually.
Yeah.
And she was like, he was the best of us. Like he, like all these people who went out to look at their planets, like they knew they might not come back.
Yeah.
Right. And I think like Mike Damon says, like,
I never even considered.
like, you know, that idea is out there that you might not be, like you might not come back and you might just be going to a desolate world. But he says, I never even considered the fact that my planet wasn't the one.
Yeah.
And when he's confronted with that,
I think he said, I never really considered it.
Yeah.
Which is a minor difference, but it is.
But he's confronted with like when he gets there and he realizes his planet is desolate, he's like, that's the end.
But also
there's nobody coming to save me.
He says in the movie, I tried to keep it together, but he's like, that button, I knew that there's a button that I could, if I press that button, someone would come save me. Yeah.
Right.
And he said he held off, and you know, that's why I don't hate the guy. I don't hate that character.
No, I think people can understand that. People understand that self-interested preservation thing.
Yeah.
And for someone like him, and
Jack could have pushed Rose off.
It's very much.
I know if I push this bitch.
Titanic is a whole other thing. We talked about how Titanic. You have a very different view of Titanic, but like, I think that like people understand that drive, and when confronted with a situation, it wasn't just his like because he had a sense that he was doing a greater good for everybody, but I think it was all through the focus of him being the hero for everybody. You know, once that was like really put in stark contrast,
that he wasn't.
and it was clear that he wasn't that person. But I think that Matthew McConaughey is the kind of person who would sacrifice himself to do any good for, and I think like he had the same problem where like he wanted to be the explorer and like help humanity. But when it came down to it, it was all about his family. Yeah. It was all about the people he loved, and he would give his life for his daughter possibly surviving or you know, whatever. And then there's folks like Professor Brand who like had the terrible decision of like, there's no way I can save everybody here. Yeah. There's a possibility I can save humanity as a whole, and like I'm going to like do that and be the villain in my own story. Yeah. You know, and he went to the grave believing that he was the villain. Yeah. You know, in a certain way. And like that's the spectrum of like who your broad like self-interested, like your self-interest, and Ayn Rand even says this, your self-interest can extend to other people, but it's still self-interest.